Hello, so today's video is going to be my rating of the 3 Marvel Disney Plus shows. So I'm going to do a tier list of WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki. This is obviously my opinion, and if you disagree with it anyway, that's fine. You can drop your tier list down below in the comments if you wish to do so. So let's go. All my social medias, other channels, everything are down below in the description if you would like to check out all that and follow me elsewhere. They're there for you. And so my tier list. So I'm going to start from the bottom. So number 3 for me is Loki. For multiple reasons, I think the writing was weaker in Loki than the other two. I thought the characters seemed a little stale at times. I think they could have done so much more with like Sylvie and like Renslayer too, and all of them actually. Like, I think they could have done a lot more character building, especially with Sylvie. We do not know anything about her, like nothing. We don't even know what her Nexus event was, but neither does she. But they never go into her past, and also they never actually touch on Loki's past either, except in the first episode, and then they just seem to forget about it. So it didn't feel like it was connected to the rest of the MCU, like, at all. I know it was supposed to be a standalone thing and it's out of time in a different dimension, but it didn't feel like it was connected in any way. Like, they never spoke about it except in the first episode, and a little bit when they were like with the other Loki variants. But for Loki, whose main purpose was to just get attention from his family and feel worthy from his family, and then he finds out that his family are dead and the world's gone to shit, but there's nothing about that in the rest of the series. And yeah, I'm not a fan of bringing in Sylvie to then simply be a love interest, and that's how it felt to me. Okay, that's just how it felt. Like, when we first see her, great, she's great, right? But then yeah, her character just dropped for me, and she also became like a woman's savior, and it's not my cup of tea. Great thing about the show though, some of the characters amazing, like Mobius, fantastic. He Who Remains, even though it was only in the last episode, brilliant. Miss Minutes, creepy as hell, great. B15 too, fantastic. The acting in it is amazing. The CGI, great. Some of the fight scenes, yes, amazing, with like the magic and everything, great. And if you're into CGI and that kind of thing, it might be the show for you, but it just didn't do it for me. Also, I have so many questions about it too, especially about Sylvie. Why does she have blonde hair? Why does she have blonde hair? And if she dyed it, why did she dye it? Also, if she's on the run from the TVA, why did she make herself look like a Loki? And she even says that that's not who I am anymore, even though she's dressed like one. She has the horns. That don't make any sense, because if you're on the run, you would make yourself look different. It just doesn't make sense. And also, where the heck did she get a costume from? Where did she get it from? She's been spending all this time in apocalypses. Where did she get those clothes from? These are like small little details, but it would have made a good like couple of scenes if we did kind of get the answers to these questions. Like, for instance, if Loki did turn around to her and go, wait a second, why are you blonde? and all Loki's supposed to have, like, you're like, I have brown hair, why do you have blonde hair? Like, you know, it would have been funny too. Or even Mobius when he first sees her being like, all the other Loki variants have brown hair, why do you have blonde hair? Like, something like that. Okay, I just felt like it, I don't know, it never really got going for me. Like, the first couple episodes, amazing, and then it just kind of flatlined, for me anyway, and I got bored. I was just wanting it to end because I wanted to know what was going to happen at the end, and that's it. So, unfortunately, it's third. Second, see, it's been difficult to pick between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I'm going to say WandaVision. Also, another thing about Loki, the finale didn't make me cry. The other two made me cry. You know, if I'm so emotionally involved and attached, and something like what happens in Wanda makes me cry, yes, well done. Because yes, I'm an emotional person, and if you can really make me emotional, great. So I think second is WandaVision. Simply because it was lackluster, the ending. I absolutely loved Agatha, don't get me wrong, she's incredible and her character amazing. But the fact that she was the big bad, just a bit lackluster. But I did really enjoy WandaVision, and I rewatched it and I'm like, oh my god, this is actually, like, it goes into grief, the 5 stages of grief. It is funny at times, and Loki is too. Loki's a bit more funny than WandaVision, because WandaVision is very serious. But I loved the whole structure of WandaVision, you know, the different weeks or a different time and a different sitcom, and yeah, and it was just great. Like, and every episode was so different because of how they structured it and because it was like a different sitcom. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it was just the ending, and some of the characters just seemed a bit throwaway, to be honest. And I also like when Monica is like, oh, I've got someone to call, and then they go to like get like that big Mars rover. I was expecting more from that, like how she was saying it, and it seemed like it might have been someone we already knew, but it wasn't. It was just one of her like co-workers. Yeah, so there was bits like that which were just lackluster, that's all. With WandaVision, again though, it was incredible, and Loki was amazing. Okay, Loki's fantastic, but just not as fantastic as the other two, for me anyway. So yeah, WandaVision, great, absolutely loved it, but lackluster. Now, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I have just rewatched it, and yes, it's my favourite. Because the characters are incredible. So you have Sam and Bucky, both on their own like path too. And that's another thing. Sam and Bucky's characters are so well developed, like Wanda and Vision's characters. Loki and Sylvie, they don't seem as developed, and they don't seem as like rounded and complete. They don't, you know, Sylvie doesn't seem like a real person, which would be in some areas. So Sam and Bucky are both on these different journeys, but also one together. And it also, looking back at it, it shows how veterans are treated in the States, and the whole thing about the army, and it also touches into what's happening now in the world. So obviously I know Loki is out of time, Wanda is in her own hex that she's created, therefore she's also out of place. But Sam and Bucky are grounded, and yeah, I love the magical the magical aspect, of Wanda and Loki. I love the time traveling. I love all that kind of thing, the sci-fi and fantasy aspect. But it feels like the writers of Falcon and the Winter Soldier concentrated more on the characters and their problems and their issues and their journeys more than the, overall thing. But also they had the overall story, and it was great because it connected into the characters' journeys. And even with Carly, she had her own journey. Sharon had her own journey, and yeah, of course, it was predictable again. But this is Marvel. It's all very predictable, isn't it? I also think Sam and Bucky's relationship is amazing. It was so funny. I forgot how funny Falcon and the Winter Soldier is. And for me, I really do like comedy in the MCU, so it's obviously going to be my favourite because they're hilarious, and obviously Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie are really funny together, and they have great chemistry, and it just works with them two on screen together. And I think they're amazing. I think they are so amazing. And it also touches on Black Lives Matter, which was a big issue, still is a big issue, but in 2020 when it came out, it was a huge issue with George Floyd, obviously, and the movement growing. So they touch on that, and having Sam with his own battles, with being a black Captain America. So it really touches on world issues, and fantasy and sci-fi can easily do that. They can be really relatable. WandaVision is relatable, right? Because she is grieving, and everyone grieves, and it shows the emotional turmoil and PTSD, And also Falcon and the Winter Soldier, also with PTSD with John Walker and Bucky due to being in wars. Loki the character should have, in my opinion, been having so much grief going through him. He should have been having this internal battle, because he just literally finds out in space of like a couple of minutes, it seems on the thingy, but clearly it wasn't, but he finds out everything that's happened from him leaving New York to Endgame. He finds out everything that happened like that, and yet he doesn't seem to be that bothered after episode 1, and then he finds out Ragnarok, but again, doesn't seem bothered. And I know Loki's supposed to be quite like charismatic and mask things and bury them down, but we never see him like by himself having turmoil. We don't see him just kind of realizing what's happened around him, and he doesn't mourn. There's no grief there, and I don't understand why. So that's why I do think the writing in Loki was weaker than the other two. So, and like I said, I love them all. I love Loki, but I just think it was weaker, and there was so many loose ends there. There was a lot of questions about characters that were never really answered, and yeah, obviously with both of the other two, there are questions afterwards that need to be answered too, but not as much as we know about the characters in them two. We even like Sam's sister, we get her. Isaiah, we get him. All the characters just seem to be more rounded and like actual people. So yeah, that is my tier list. And with that, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in my next video.